Hi there, I'm Brian Whitmore, host of the Power Vertical podcast, and this is the Daily Vertical. At a speech at the Valdai Discussion Forum in Sochi last week, Vladimir Putin seemed to indicate that he was seeking some form of détente with the West. His foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, suggested the same thing this week at a press conference in Athens, saying that inevitably Russia and the West will need to sit down and talk to resolve differences. The idea of some form of grand bargain with Russia is also gaining traction in several European capitals. Now, there's just a couple of problems with this. For one thing, Russia's record of complying with recent agreements with the West is far from stellar. The ink was barely dry on the Minsk ceasefire and the recent ceasefire in Syria before Moscow began flagrantly violating them. The OSCE reported that last week alone there were roughly 1,000 ceasefire violations per day in eastern Ukraine. Moreover, recent reports suggest that Russia is not even complying with the 2010 New START nuclear arms treaty. So there's that. But leaving aside the issue of non-compliance, there are deeper questions about what a grand compromise with Vladimir Putin's regime would look like. Moscow's not going to return Crimea to Ukraine. It's not going to stop its intervention in Donbass. It's not going to stop trying to dominate its neighbors. It's not going to stop backing extremist parties in Europe, and it's not going to stop its cyber attacks. Russia appears to want détente without changing any of its behavior. It doesn't want compromise. What it wants is capitulation, which makes any grand bargain with this regime practically impossible. Keep telling me what you think in the comments section, on the Power Vertical's Twitter feed, and on our Facebook page. I'm Brian Whitmore, and that was the Daily Vertical.